Hi everyone, Molton here. Welcome back to another game in our speedrun series. So today again we have the white pieces, and it looks like we're probably going to end up in another Scotch Gambit or Evans Gambit. We've been playing the Evans quite a lot in the past couple of games. Maybe our opponent will play knight f6 this game, so then we get into pawn to d4 variation. I'll pawn to h6 instead. Okay, so this is not the most ambitious line. So I'm just going to go into a Scotch Gambit anyway with the move pawn to d4. So if pawn takes, I think it's just castle. It's one possible move where I don't think h6 is all that helpful for black. The whole point of h6 I think is just to stop the fried liver. So black might want to play the move knight to f6, but instead wants to avoid the fried liver. Okay, knight takes d4. Okay, so if I take the knight, okay, so this is one of those situations where you have a lot of tempting moves, but you want to go for the most accurate move in the position. You want to go for the one that's going to give you the biggest possible advantage. Now, there's a lot of tempting moves, like knight takes d4, obviously, we get a very pleasant position after we capture the pawn back. Knight takes e5 looks very, very tempting as well. It's probably the first move people are going to want to play, because not only does it attack the f7 pawn twice, but it also opens up our queen to attack this knight on d4. Now, most people would just immediately take this pawn without thinking, but then you realize that black only has one move, but it might actually be a very useful move, because knight to e6 actually blocks the defense of the knight and the bishop. But okay, you shouldn't stop your calculation just there. You should keep looking as far as you possibly can. So look at all your sort of obvious checks and captures. So for example, after knight takes, the knight goes back to e6. What else can you play, which is the obvious capture? Well, you have bishop takes e6. So after bishop takes e6, what can black play? Now, normally he would be able to play pawn takes, but then in this position, because he's played h6, queen h5 check there looks absolutely deadly. So that is probably not the best option. So he probably has to take back with the d pawn. But then you notice that you actually have a very nice tactic. You can trade queens, king takes, and then capture on f7, and actually picks up the rook. So there's also a move bishop takes f7, king takes, knight takes e5 check, and then winning the knight, which is probably also winning as well. But I think this is the most accurate, I believe, because of the variation I just pointed out. So if knight e6, we capture here, and then can't capture back with the pawn because we trade queens. There's probably some moves with the bishop, such as bishop check, but I don't think any of these are useful, because we can always just play c3 and attack the bishop on b4. So those type of moves you probably don't have to worry about too much. So yeah, our opponent plays knight e6, which is the only move in the position, I believe. So here we go for bishop takes e6. So I think the most important thing is, when you have a good position, just to make sure you sort of stop and think a little bit, especially if you have a couple of really good options, to see which one is the most accurate option, because you want to maximize your advantage at that point in the game. And also, don't stop your calculation. So I know a lot of people who would have stopped at knight takes e5 and knight to e6, and maybe you can assume, okay, black is probably okay in that position. But if you look even just one move further, you'll realize that, yeah, black is in a lot of trouble here because he's unable to recapture back. So now we can capture the queen, and then knight takes f7, picks up the rook in the corner. Okay, then. So that was a nice okay, so we had a nice quick game there. Only 8 moves. So h6, yeah, black is trying to stop the fried liver with knight to g5, but after the move pawn to d4, knight takes d4 is clearly a mistake. So I mean, black should just take back with the pawn, and I mean, probably white would just castle here, and you can recapture the pawn back if you want, or you can go back into a Scotch gambit by playing the move pawn to c3, which is what I would probably do in most situations. But after the move knight takes, yeah, again, you have a lot of tempting moves, like I said. Like this one is also probably winning as well. And no matter where the black king goes, I mean, you can either take here or queen shack should be winning as well. But I think this is the most accurate. And again, knight e6 runs into bishop takes e6 and queen takes. So yeah, just make sure you look for the best continuations in those positions where you have a lot of tempting moves, and also take your time. Also, yeah, just keep your calculation going. Don't stop just because you assume that your opponent has found a good defense. So I hope you enjoyed this really quick game. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.